yeah, some people say, oh, that, the 20s are your best, the 30s are your best. Man, I've seen that it just gets better and better and better. Life keeps on getting better and better and better. It all depends on how you play your cards,
Yeah, yeah.
It's just, everybody has a deck of cards. It's just your cards of life, your game. People, if you, take the responsibility of learning how to play the game, then it could be in your favor, and it keeps on getting better, better. But my dad, I got works. He could work.
Yeah, yeah.
He has a hard work ethic. He's, he was never late, ever. And for work, to go to work, I think once he was late, and that's because I fiddled with his alarm clock. I was a little kid, and I messed it up. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that later on in the day. Never touched that clock again. But the work thing was him. It's like when we worked at the pad, it was work at the pad. It wasn't fiddle around with dust. It wasn't poke around with his nail and scrape little corners. It was, you better get ahead, anticipate the play. He didn't say that. He didn't know that. I learned that term later on in sports with my son. But yeah, and it's funny because when I learned it later on with my son, I was like, that's what my dad meant. No, you should know that I need the hammer before I need the hammer. You should have it ready for me, and not like this, in a position where I could reach and grab it. He never said that. Never told me, but it was implied. It was kind of molded.
You're listening to Musings with Morales, brought to you by Dialysis Education Services.
Welcome to Musings with Morales. I'm Morales. I want to welcome my longtime friend and first-time guest, Albert Lopez. Albert, thanks for joining us this evening, and happy to have you here. Looking forward to catching up on some old times and learning what the new times are about.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. I love being here. I was pretty jazzed when you reached out, so thanks.
That's awesome.
Let's do this.
Yeah, I've been following you, as mentioned, for the last, 5 years or so. I think you started your YouTube probably about 5 years ago or so. Is that
this one? Yeah, well, I've been on YouTube for a long time. Believe it or not, I've been since it was still dial-up. It was still dial-up when I was messing around with that, and I loved it. But this part, like my Mr. Albert Lopez channel, that one, that's right, about 5 years ago.
5 years. Yeah. So I've seen a lot of transition, a lot of guidance. You've taken on a role of coach and mentor. So really interested to hear about that. But we got to go back.
Let's go.
We grew up together, met up in high school. In, I guess, the early 90s. You were class of?
94.
94.
Yeah.
And where did you graduate? Where'd you end up graduating?
Artesia High School.
Artesia High School. So I was class of 95, and I ended up in the last month as a Tracy graduate.
Tracy Tech.
Tracy Tech, right?
That's a great school.
Yeah. I mean, it actually turned out all right. But, troubles, right? And that's why they send people to Tracy, right? It's like people got expelled from the district. I ended up at Tracy High School, and I graduated a day late.
A day late, really?
Yeah, 1 day late, which was pretty miraculous considering the number of credits I had to make up.
Gotcha. Hey, you made it. What is it? I heard it recently. It said it doesn't matter how you make it, you make it.
Well, I actually have kept up with quite a few people from Tracy, and I've seen a lot of people make it beyond making it through high school. A lot of people that ended up in that high school were kicked out, or there were young mothers as well that were basically in the best place at that school to have childcare and study at the same time, finish up on track. So it's a really great program.
Heck yeah.
But we went to Artesia High School together, early to mid 90s. It was a unique time in history, to say the least.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of tension between different groups at the time.
Yeah.
I think we had a few incidents at our high school of ethnic groups that were fighting over things that were going on in the media at the time. What do you remember about that time? I kind of take a lot of conflict, but what are your biggest memories from the 90s or maybe even before?
No, late 80s, early 90s, it was a good time. Mid 90s, you're a little bit older. You're an older kid. And yeah, you do remember stuff. It impacts you, You could chuckle and laugh about it because we're still around, So it's like, okay, there's some folks that aren't.
That's right.
That, were eaten up by the 90s, and that brings chills, and they're still around. Sometimes they're just not around, outside, out here.
No, I feel
and that brings a big knot in your throat, and, kind of gets you sad because you grew up with these people. And then some, they're no longer here, period, on this planet. And that even tears you up a little bit because you remember the good times. And it's like, damn, they're just regular kids, just got caught up, and they were passionate. And I admire that about anybody who does anything, whatever it is, their passion, they went into winning. But a lot of stuff, no internet, hello, that was crazy just to talk about back in my day.
Yep.
Having internet. Pagers were out. That was fun. I was
That's
one
right.
of the first few to have one.
I think you had a few, didn't you?
I was the first person who had a. Oh, no, I don't. No. I won't take. I won't, because I don't know that for a fact. But I was one of the first few who had a pager. Also, was it probably, I had my own, make a little money.
Yeah.
So I was able to pay for it.
Yeah.
I remember my brother was kind enough to put it under his name because he was old enough to start an account. So pagers were new, the little black ones, the little black ones.
Yeah.
Motorola was a beautiful thing. I wish I still had it, but whatever. That was another thing I remember about then. Like you said, tension. Yeah, there was tension. I think there's still tension. Now it's just different. It's at a different level. It's in the cyber area instead of the street.
You're right. There's a lot of internet trolls and people that are tough behind their computer boards. But I mean, that's an interesting comparison. Tension back then was what compared today? I mean, yeah, it's easy to sit behind a computer and it's easy to stay safe, and it's easy to get in trouble behind a computer too.
Sure.
Back when we were in high school, before we were in high school, like what was tension like then? Like how did it trigger and how did it end?
Okay. Well, I mean, you'd have different tensions. I mean, it was tension from like, damn, report cards are coming. That was that kind of tension, A lot of the stuff was just being able to wiggle and maneuver through those things to intercept the tension that could happen, to keep it from happening. And then you had other kind of tensions. You had other tensions like out on the in the play area. What do they call it? The quad or whatever.
Yep.
Then you had the walking home. Walking home was tense. Home was tense. It was a long stretch. I don't know where you stayed at, but
where were you at? In
Hawaiian Gardens.
You were in Hawaiian. Okay.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, I was in Lakewood.
And the walk home, it was a stretch. From the Lama all the way down. It was like, whoa. There was a lot of cool factor to it too. I'm not gonna lie to it. It was cool. You saw a lot of just that vibe, that culture. But that culture came with a lot of tension too, because it was part of the culture.
That's right.
So to see it happening and seeing your peers and your friends involved, some more than others, you always had that tension. Like, damn, what could happen? And
so you went to elementary, junior high, and then high school in Hawaiian Gardens.
Yeah.
And then to high school, at Artesia, which is in Lakewood. And I had the Lakewood run through the schools, right? And it was really interesting because when we got to high school, my friends completely split up.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm from this side, I'm from this side, I'm from that side. And all of a sudden, people who grew up together, bought candies, went to the ice cream mat, all this kind of stuff, became enemies to the point where, like you said, we lost some friends. Mm-hmm. Some friends hurt each other. Some friends ended up in and are still in prison for some of the things that they did. So I agree with you. It's chilling, and it's one of the, I think, peripheral focus of our podcast is also to look at Reformation as well. We've got a lot of friends that we want to tell those stories.
Yeah.
The Reformation stories. With that, you have to know kind of what the other end of it is as well, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the part we don't like to think about, but sometimes we have to highlight in order to see like what really can be.
What really can be, right? Exact options.
Yeah. So, I mean, would you say that the 90s were a positive time in your life when you look back? You're same age as me, maybe a year older, maybe. When you look through the decades, were the 90s a highlight? Were they a low? Was there a better point in history for you?
No, it just keeps on getting better and better. I think the 90s were some people say, oh, that the 20s are your best, the 30s are better. Man, I've seen that it just gets better and better and better. Life keeps on getting better and better and better. It all depends on how you play your cards, It's just everybody has a deck of cards. It's just your cards of life, your game. People, if you take the responsibility of learning how to play the game, then it could be in your favor, and it keeps on getting better and better. To answer your question about the 90s, I think every era, just kind of looking back, I was a kid in the 80s. I was an older kid in the 90s, and then I was a young adult in late 90s, 2000s, whatever. And I think it was great because you make it, you have choices, there's options, for me, I mean, like you said, that was a great point that you said, that there was more options once you got to high school. It's like, whoa, there's more to do, different people, like the kids that came from your school. I made a bunch of friends, of friends that I didn't grow up with.
That's right.
And what I mean by growing up is like K through 8th. It's like I never knew of them.
Yep.
Once I got to high school, I met a ton of new friends that were like, whoa, that went to your school, shoot, my wife.
That's right.
And
I think I met her in 3rd grade.
And go figure, right? And then we end up, and it's one of those where it's like, wow, there's so much to do. It's not just what I grew up doing, which was cool,
Yeah.
I was playing bikes, sports, skateboarding. It was fun, And then you grow up and you have different interests, of course. And there was the party scene, which was wonderful in the 90s. It was just intense.
Tell me about that, because you were kind of center, at least as far as all the local stuff. If there was a party going on, for sure, you were the one.
We were there. That's where it was introduced to me, the party scene. I mean, I knew there was parties, family parties, and that kind of stuff, and we had parties in our town and stuff, but it wasn't nothing like what came about in the 90s. That was intense, It was it was the big raves, the big parties, but then we would bring that to the local circuit because we didn't have access to cars or lifts or anything like that. And the friend couldn't get the van every weekend, so we had to create something to keep us entertained and fun because it was so exciting and so much fun. And shoot, somebody needed a DJ, and some of us had that musical ear, and some of us had brothers that maybe had the equipment. I'm telling you the story of what happened, This guy had he was an older brother, and he was down. He was going to let us use it. It was like, no. I was like, well, who's going to run it? It's like, well, we kind of could do it. And it's like, okay, cool. And then that's how it all, And then we started partying.
So when did you start all that? Like you were, what, 15, 16?
Had to be. It didn't happen my freshman year. I was pretty low key my freshman year. I think it was sophomore. So what would be that? What, 16, 17 is when it kind of like, okay. And at the same time, that's when the whole pager thing came in. Why did the pager thing come in? Because I got my first job. I started working my birthday, my 16th birthday. I was in my interview in 15. I couldn't work till I was 16.
Okay.
And like I said, I've always been somebody who could my son calls it manipulate the system. It's like, I'm not manipulating it. It's capitalizing on the system, right? So it's like, okay, I'm not going to wait till I'm 16 till I get a work permit. I want to get a work permit at 15. But Albert, you can't work till you're 16. It doesn't matter. I want to get ahead of the game. So I went to go talk to the office people, got my permit. Went to the interview. The guy's like, I can't let you work till you're 16. That's going to happen in like 6 days. Am I hired? Yeah. Well, here's my work permit.
Let's go.
Let's go. I'll see you on my birthday.
I can't remember. I feel like it's in the back of my head what your first job at.
Yes.
But what was it? Machinist.
Close. No. my first job at 16 was I was a busboy at Knott's Berry Farm. Shout out to all the busboys at Knott's Berry Farm.
Nice.
Chicken dinner restaurant, CDR.
Well, I'm thinking about Johnny. I think he ended up being a machinist, right, for a while.
You know what? I'm not sure, but I know he was Yoda King right now. He's the dopest Toyota mechanic.
Is that right?
Yeah, he tears it up.
Man, tell him I said what's up.
It's one of those guys where I love to know of him, but every time I have to talk to him, it's because I need work on my truck.
You're like,
I love talking to him when I get upgrades. When I get upgrades, when I get an upgrade, like whatever, something that I need him to install, suspension or whatever, then that's cool. But when it's like, it's making a noise. But he just tears it up.
But I remember you have at least one brother, right?
I have one brother and one sister. Yeah, they're wonderful.
So, I mean, just through the short discussion we've had so far, it sounds like your brother was a big influence in your life. Take me through it, like the 80s, 90s, like who molded this guy? Because I saw pretty early on that you got a hustle, in high school. You kept that hustle, the same passion in through adulthood.
That's it.
And we'll get to where you're at today. But what kind of molded all the influence there to get you into that starting of the hustle?
The hustle muscle, that was a word that came about later on, right? That kind of got I don't want to say overused, but became popular later on. Right? Recently, I should say. The hustle. Right?
Yep.
The work ethic, we'll call it. I wasn't inspired, compressed, and strongly influenced by my pops, by my dad. That guy works. He can work.
Yeah.
He has a hard work ethic. He was never late, ever was in it for work, to go to work. I think once he was late, and that's because I fiddled with his alarm clock. I was a little kid and I messed it up. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that later on in the day. Never touched that clock again. But it had the wood grain too. It was plastic, but it looked like this. Anyways, but the work thing was him. It's like when we worked at the pad, it was work at the pad. It wasn't fiddle around with dust. It wasn't poke around with his nail and scrape little corners. It was, you better get ahead, anticipate the play. He didn't say that. He didn't know that. I learned that term later on in sports with my son. But yeah, and it's funny because when I learned it later on with my son, I was like, that's what my dad meant. No, you should know that I need the hammer before I need the hammer. You should have it ready for me, and not like this. in a position where I could reach and grab it. He never said that. Never told me, but it was implied. It was kind of molded. So I'm saying that ethic was there.
Yeah.
Because why? Because it was the example. He led a lot by example, and also too when the example wasn't strong enough, he was verbal about it. Said, "This is how I want it done." You know, when we clean up, we don't kind of clean up. We clean up. Period. You know, all the way. Done. We put the tools exactly where we got them. You know, we don't bunch up the cords. We roll them up really nice. I don't want to see 8s in the extension cord. I want to see O's. You know, never said it.
Yeah,
but I knew I had to do it.
So there was a level of example then.
Totally.
It was an expectation that everything's done this way.
It's cold. Well, where's your jacket?
There you go.
It's hot. You know, what are you waiting for? What do you want me to tell you everything? You know? So that oh man, I was so blessed to have such that. At the moment, it just seems like, dang, you know. But he knew what I was capable of.
Yeah,
I realized that's a recent one too, Mike. That's a recent one. When I get at it, and we'll talk about that later, like you said. But one of the things when I shifted from being a victim to not having a victim mindset was like, oh, he wasn't. He knew I could do all those things. Yeah. He knew I was capable. He knew my potential. Yep. Maybe he didn't know how to explain it, you know, because. I mean, he didn't have the internet, you know, but he knew. It was like, okay, this dude, he knows what's up. I know what he's capable of. I know where he came from. I know what fabric he's cut from. You know, shit, he could do it. And
I love that, man.
And once I switched that, it's like, oh, he had such expectations. I mean, not because he was like, well, let's see what you could do because you're supposed to do it. No, it was more along the lines like, oh, bro, I know you could do it. So let's go, you know, and that was just it. That's where it came from, really. That and then he was, man. He is. I mean, you can't say he was. He still is. I mean, he's still around. Thank God. He was able to make something out of anything. You know, he fixed anything. And then he was a machinist. He retired as a machinist, badass. And he custom part. I don't know if you remember my truck.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, cool. You remember the license plate?
Man, hold on. I might.
You might. You might.
Oh shoot.
It's a Spanish term, very, very Hispanic, very Latino kind of a term that also part of the Latin song.
I'm not going to get it right, but raza or something.
Close. It was ay papi. I still have them too.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you talk about the truck. I remember the truck. You kind of had like 4x4, right?
That's right. Lifted 85
only
Toyota.
Person who had a 4x4, I think.
No, not the only. You had other one. You had Joey Zavala, RIP. He had
That's
one.
right. That's right. Yeah.
And then there was another. There was a purple truck. What was that guy's name? Miguel. Miguel had a purple truck. He was an older cat. He was a little bit older than us.
So what about the cruising? Did you ever get into that? Like Whittier and Bristol?
Sunset in Hollywood before it was right at the time where it was against the law.
Yeah.
You could only go twice and then they'd get you.
Yeah, the second time around you're done, right?
Yeah. And then now, like 100 years later, you know, they say it's cool again.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. But
it's pretty regular thing now, right?
It is. So that was the influence. The influence was like back to the machinist thing. He made a lot of custom parts from. I mean, I would tell him, "Hey, I'm thinking about making like this round. I want to take off the bumper and they have these things called roll pans, but there are a lot of them." He'd sit there
it's all
like
coming back to my head now. I remember these things.
He'd make it. He'd like, well, kind of give me the measurements because he wasn't gonna do it for me, you know. So I'd kind of like give him like draw it out and like this. And the next day he'd come with the pan. I was like, whoa. So a lot of custom stuff that he would fabricate out of nothing. Same at the back. So all that creativity kind of like, oh, I knew it was possible. It's like, wow, you can make something out of nothing, you know? So the work ethic came from there. The creativity, I think just I was pre-programmed with that, but it was kind of cracked open by him, by these possibilities of being able to, you know.
It wasn't just DJing, right? Weren't you an artist as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember all this stuff. Yeah. I can kind of, the pictures are coming through my head.
I think that was my first transaction art.
Was selling pictures.
I started drawing and I was like, oh, I could draw a little bit. You know who inspired me my brother drew, but the one that really got me like, whoa, was our friend, shout out to Luis Aguilar. Remember Luis?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that dude could draw.
Really?
Know? And then there was other guy, I can't remember his last name, is Philip. He could draw too. I think it was 1 year older than us. Philip. Damn, that dude could draw. But anyways, Luis was a big inspiration as far as like, wow, you know, he was real cool. Anyways, that was my first transaction art. I drew and my brother got me my first airbrush set. And then that's kind of how I could draw. I could buy the stuff. I'd buy it, like where can I buy cheap stuff? No internet.
Yep.
So
Yep.
find out what the deal was. I think my dad's the one that told me, go buy that in LA. I was like, well, off we go to LA, Pico and something. I forgot the street.
So what about tagging?
Yeah, that part.
Mobbing up, right?
That was fun. Yeah, that was
running
fun.
down the freeway and all that stuff.
That was fun. Yeah, the Battle of the 710.
Yep.
That was crazy times.
Yep.
Picking up. That's when the whole different things come together there.
It seems like you haven't thought about that for a while, man.
Yeah, every now and again I'll visit it. It's fun, especially when I'm on the freeway.
You're like, yeah, that looks good, right?
Wow, that looks good. You know what? I still find a lot of there's like you'll see some art, you'll see some graffiti. We'll call it what it is, but it's like he took no pride in whoever wrote that. He, she, it doesn't matter, right? Because they're both artists.
Yep.
There's no pride in that. What?
Like, let me go show them how to do this.
It's wrong. You shouldn't. Anybody out there, don't ever take part in any kind of illegal graffiti or anything like that. It's wrong. You will pay the karmatic price tenfold, for sure. But even if you do it legally, take pride in your work.
Yeah.
Don't do it all fast just to say you did it.
Yeah.
Then you got other pieces where it's like, wow. Damn,
yeah.
Did he set up shop to do that?
I remember those days really well, man.
Yeah.
Just the stress that
man,
we created out of nothing. You know what I mean? Just
the
like
adrenaline.
Yep.
The adrenaline. It was just.
Well, that was fun, but I think the stress between other crews that were doing the same thing, and then, like you said, you get into a battle and it turns into more than
it gets emotional.
Yeah. So it turns into drama and
it exactly turns into drama.
Yeah. So Albert, I got to ask you, your family heritage. Where is your family from?
Like the roots, the roots. Oh yeah, Mexico. We're Mexican. Yeah, Michoacan. We're both from Michoacan, and that's both my folks. My mom and dad are from Michoacan, Mexico.
And that's pretty much kind of the. Is that the town that like most Hawaiian Gardens from? Michoacan?
That's a state. Yeah, Michoacan is a state. Yeah. So
but most of the people in Hawaiian Gardens, right?
A big part is from there. There's different towns, some more popular than the other. The smaller little cities or villages or whatever towns you want to call it, pueblos, or ranchos, whatever. And yeah, there is big group. Most of them, I shouldn't say most, but I should say a big portion, a large. I mean, anybody I've asked growing up is like, well, where's your family from? Oh, Michoacan. I was like, oh, dang, that's crazy. I didn't find out that until later too. I was kind of like, well.
So I got to ask you, what have you experienced around people with kidney disease or with diabetes or high blood pressure? And the reason I ask is that Hispanic, Latino, African American are super high risk for these things, disproportionately affected. Sometimes the demographic of the city or the area plays a big part in that. So what were your experiences growing up or now in the city of Hawaiian Garden, which is, I think, still predominantly Hispanic, Latino, right?
If I just look around, to answer your question, I don't know the stats or anything like that, but just as a basic look around, diet, diet and not putting, bad habits. Yeah, bad diet habits, bad exercise habits, and it'll mess you up, and it got you, quote unquote. Oh, diabetes got you. Oh, high cholesterol got you, or like no, it didn't get me. I want to go get it. I think that's what it is. You like that one, Baco?
Yes.
Write it down.
I recorded it.
Oh, that's right.
I love that. So, how aware are people of that though? Because it's I think it's easy for us that know to kind of go like. No, you actually walked right into that episode or into that issue, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Kind of maybe also depending on the families, and I think Hispanic, Latino, which we can speak to, often have multifamily households, different hours. So sleep can be interrupted. The diet gets kind of spread between high carb diets and kind of cheaper ingredients in some cases.
Absolutely. Convenience.
Yeah, convenience. And then when you look at the cities, I think Hawaiian Gardens cleaned up a lot since we were kids, actually. But,
absolutely.
You could probably find, I don't know how many liquor stores when we were kids. And there's still a lot of fast food. And, you're not going to find too many Trader Joe's or Whole Foods in cities like Southgate or Hawaiian Gardens or Compton or things like this, right?
Right. It's convenience. I mean, not even talking, I'll talk about this Latino.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I could tell you, I was by experience, they make it taste real good.
Mhm.
Who's they? I don't know. The people who make it. You know, we have the choice. It doesn't matter who they is, because the only thing that matters is I know who I am, and I make the choice.
Yeah.
I make the choice to go get the poor food, and it's good. It's salty. It's delicious. It's sweet. You know, it's convenient. It's easy to get. It's cheaper. So that could be a thing. But even that, Mike, I've seen it to where it's like, okay, money's not an issue. You're still in line at the drive-thru. Right. And I know it's a nice ride, and I know you got cash, and why are you here? You know why? Because it's convenient.
Did you see my car at the drive-thru?
and it's that's one. You know, it's sometimes it's habits, because it's not like, I didn't know I shouldn't eat that once a week or once every day or so late or that much. Like, yeah, you did. You're well aware. You just didn't have the discipline to not choose that.
So what do you think about our kids, Albert? So I know you've spoke on this on some of your shorts online. It makes me think of a story, and I think I've told it here before. I had a episode that I ended up in the hospital, and there was a very young boy in the lobby that was like a 4x4 with some stomach problems. Okay. I got in first because mine was more urgent, but he ended up in the bed next to me, right? And I hear the doctor talking to his mom. It's like, he's not moving. His bowel's not moving, right? And he was in crazy pain, right? So the doctor's talking to the mom, and she's like, what did he eat? And he's like, he had a 20-pack of chicken McNuggets and, blah, 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 like supersized Coke. And the doctor ripped into her so hard, man. She was like, you did this. Sure. This is all your fault. He's type 2 diabetic. This is going to affect, he was probably 9 or 10.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So, I think you're right. Like, at a certain point, we all kind of know, like, hey, this is bad shit. Yeah. Right. But what about kids who are just in that environment of, mom who's too busy now, mom who needs the convenience, dad needs the convenience. I don't know if that's a good question or not, but like, do you see that a lot also in the Hispanic Latino community where it's, you're being driven to it?
I see it everywhere. I don't, I'll be, just because I do, I see it everywhere, and everywhere I go. I mean, I drive around everywhere. No. I'm all over the place, and it's not even in just the Latino communities. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Right. It's that easy. You're too busy. You're too busy because it's your habits. You have poor habits. Yep. And you're trying to clean up, as you're going with your poor habits, you're trying to clean up the poor results. Yeah. And how do you do it? It's like, okay, it's convenience. You go eat real quick. You go get the drive-thru. You go get this because it's tastier, because it makes you feel good. You want that instant gratification of the delicious food. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, in the long term, you could also make delicious, healthy food. But what's taken away? Your time that you ate up chasing instant gratification over here that you're doing with work or whatever it is that you're doing.
That's the whole hard equation, right? Like, it's maybe harder to cook for yourself and shop for yourself, but you choose the convenience. It's harder to take care of yourself when you're behind the gun, right?
Exactly. And then it's hereditary. Yeah. Bad habits are hereditary. You're the example. You got to lead by example. Inspiration before education. You lead by example. If that's the way, somebody gets to reroot the tree at one point or another. Yeah. And that's the toughest part. You got a big old tree, which is you. And the older you get, the more roots you have. And then all of a sudden you say, we're going to change stuff. Now you got kids that are grown, that they have their opinions. Like, what do you mean? So now you got to make what you're doing, this new thing, attractive. So it's more difficult. It takes up more time. It probably takes up more money. Now you got to go learn what these packages look like and what all these dyes that I don't want. Yeah. And you got to make it attractive to your kids. Mm-hmm. But that's the rerouting part. If you successfully do that, that means you're changing future generations. The way we did it with my wife too is we were like, we're doing this for our great grandkids. We're making this attractive.
And you guys are on great grandkids already?
No, goes to show you how far ahead we're trying to plan it. No, we're just planning ahead.
So, what's the age range of your children? Do you have grandchildren?
No, I don't have grandchildren. Okay. No, I just have. I can't wait. It'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. If it's equally as fun as being a parent, I can't wait. So I'm assuming it's just going to be even more.
How many kids?
I got 2.
So I got 4, and I can tell you it's funner.
Yeah. Oh, you got grandkids already?
Yeah, I have 3 grandkids. It's definitely funner because they go home.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They do. Yeah. Like, if you set it up right, they go home after.
That's it. Like, you just kind of have the fun part. Like,
Then you get to spoil them, and then somebody else gets to deal with, the consequences.
The results of the spoil. Yeah.
So Albert, we've kind of gazed through the past a little bit. Say hello to your lovely wife for me. It's been, I don't know, more than 20 years, I think.
Gotcha. I did already, actually. I did.
It's just I remember
she's excited about me coming over here.
Everybody in third grade, actually, is kind of one of the better years of my life.
That's cool, man. That's so cool.
What are you doing today? Like, I've seen this transformation. I know you even actually DJ'd at my wedding. Your organization DJ'd at our wedding and did the whole event side of it, the lights and the music and all the events, which was a great time. Thank you for that. It's been,
you're welcome.
Oh gosh, 13 years now.
Really?
Yeah, 13 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So it seems like you've recently or semi-recently went through some changes in life. You talk about rerouting. What I've seen lately is this really laser focused individual through what you're posting socially. I see this mention of a beast mindset, which I think makes a lot of sense to most people. But I got to know what exactly is this beast mindset that you're speaking of? How did you come about it? Like, why is it important to you or to others? And how do we get some of it?
I always chased. We talked about the hustle early on today, right? Mm-hmm. So the hustle is about hustling to get something, to get something done, whether you're hustling to finish your schoolwork or you're hustling to clean the kitchen so you can leave or clean the yard or whatever, right? At any stage of your life, for us, it was that hustle. But if you think about it, you're hustling, really, what does hustle mean? If you take it back to PE, hustle, it means run, right? Mm-hmm. Run. So it means you're chasing something. So, I was always chasing something. And then that's when I just kind of had the point where I was like, man, I was capping off at something. I get to where I wanted. I never got to where I wanted to get to, Mike, but I got close every single time and quick. Anything I did, everything you mentioned, from the job to the pager to the working to anything I did, I quickly got to like 70%. Yeah. Bang. It was fast. It was easy. It was easy for me to do that. Even taking it back to like even the high school. What do you guys need me to do? I need you to graduate. Okay. Don't tell me how to do it. I could figure that out. Don't ask me how I did it, but I'm gonna figure it out. And I did. Easy. Probably not the way they wanted me to do it, but
me too.
That's why I asked. That's why I didn't ask, how do you want me to do it? I said, what end result do you want? I'll get it for sure. Because I knew I was confident in order to do that, right? But I'd quickly get to where I wanted to get to, but I couldn't get past that 70%, Anything I would try, because I was chasing. And then I did the shift. Once I shift, it's like, I gotta attract these things to me, and it happened. I'll try to keep it short because it could be a long conversation. But what happened was I knew, because of that early on, as I got older, I was looking back on my life. It's like, wow, anything I try, I against anybody telling me you shouldn't do that. That's not a good idea. Oh, that's frowned upon, or this, whatever. I'd somehow, even if I did it low key. Yeah. Even if I did it, most of my drawing I did it low key. It was a waste of time. What are you doing? Go do your homework, go clean, go do this. So I'd figure out a way to draw. I get, book on this end and then the paper, and I was drawing on this end. And I go, yeah, look at them reading, I'd still do it. It's like, do what I wanted to do. And I don't know if that's, persistence or stubbornness. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to get there, whatever it is that I want to get. And I would look back and it's like, man, I figure out what I want. I could get started pretty quick. I usually make my own path, especially without the internet. There wasn't like how to, It wasn't a how to. It was like, let me figure it out. That came going back to what we said. My dad would figure it out. How are we going to do this? We don't know anything about drywall. Yeah, but let's figure it out.
Self-starter, self-learner.
Exactly. Self-learn. Oh, that was it. That's ticket right there. Like, why do I always get 70%? And then I started learning a little bit about self-development in my 20s. My brother introduced me to that. And I was like, wow, this is dope too. And again, 20%. Even the DJ business, Mike, when I got into DJing, I quickly got to where I needed to get to. You were one of the last events that we did, probably like the last 50. Yeah, probably about the last 30 events. Yours was it.
I mean, I remember seeing your organization at that time and being super proud of you guys, man. Like, you really...
It was wonderful. I loved it.
The whole family did a great job. All the people you work with they took ownership.
Great people. Great people. I still keep in touch with all of them, and it's wonderful. They were great people. And but again, my vision to that was 10x. and I only got it to like 7x.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, why am I everything I would do would get stuck. And that's where it was getting frustrating because I couldn't get, like, man, if I was only going to make it 70%, I should have just gone the traditional mode that everybody told me to do, which I did check off all the boxes.
Easier, right?
Yeah, you want me to go to school? Done. You want me to go to college? Sure.
Yeah.
You want me again, what do you want me to do? Finish? I'm finishing my way, but I'm finishing. Done. Finished. Oh, you want me to go get a job and move up the ladder? Okay, cool.
Yeah, a rubric is easy to follow, right? I mean, you got the requirements, then like you said, what's passing?
And then with self-starter mindset, I was able to wiggle my way through and get what it is that was required my way.
Yeah.
You know, and I did, you know, and but like I said, as I got older, I just figured I was like, well, if that was the case, you know, I'm on like full throttle all day to get to 10x, but I get capped at 7.
Yeah.
And then that's just kind of when I was getting tired. I was just like, not sensing, like, just tired of not getting past that 70%. And that's, you know, it was that conversation where I just that it was a surrender moment. I was like, all right, whatever. You know, I guess I'm Mr. 70%. I'm gonna get past that. You know, I'm broken. It got to a point where I literally told myself, I guess something's wrong with me. At that part, I cannot figure
break the glass, huh?
I can't figure out that part for much as that. And I sat there. I could tell you that where I was sitting, where I was like, I guess I'm broken. I've tried figuring out what it is, but I know I'm smart. I know I could figure things out on my own pretty dang quick. Here's my tracker. Here's my receipts of everything I could do. I said, it's not that. You know, and you know, we got lucky enough. The internet came by. I'd search for everything. Man, so many courses, so many books, so many. You know, I everything. You know, and but see, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise because all that was just being stored in the hard drive. I was just storing all that in. Little did I know that later on, I was like, oh. But anyways, I was still kind of going, and it just felt like not a give up mode, but a surrender mode. Where I was like, I guess I'm just broken. I'll just kick it here, and then just see where it takes me. My kids are a little bit older now. Whatever, I did my best, and then it was just at that moment where everything kind of just started switching. You know, because I wasn't the Mr. Know-It-All no more. I wasn't I could figure anything out my way, which is also important to know, of course. But it was that moment where I was like, okay, well, what's going on here? And then that's when I figured out. It's kind of one day just having a conversation with my wife, and that's when figured out that, like, well, it looks like you're just people pleasing. All you want to do is make everything you do. It seems like you just want to make others happy, and that was a core. It was like I couldn't even say no because as she said it, I was like, dang. Okay, real quick, I was going through all the past film and footage. I was like, everything I was
like
doing.
Telling yourself you did it for yourself or you did it for your family, and
no, it was for them. It was for anybody who I wanted. I wanted significance from others.
Yeah,
and you go back to even the question that I told you I'd get, for example, like school or a job or whatever, and I was asked, what do you want me to do? I'll get it done.
Yeah,
See, I wanted to please them.
Yeah.
Whether it was the teacher, whether it was my parents, whether it was my brother, my sister, my relatives, my neighbors, everything, the coaches, whoever it was, I wanted to satisfy you. And you tell me what you want, I'll get it done. Why? Because I wanted that. Oh, he did it. Yes. And all that happened. And just, once I realized, and it was brought up that you just want to people please. And I was like, wow, that was the and we were in my kitchen. I remember too, we were in the kitchen, we're having a conversation with my wife. She's the one that pointed that out. And I ran with that. And it took, that moment of just me saying a few weeks before that to say, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done in the sense of chasing. Yeah. I'm just gonna wait till something comes to me. But I don't know,
So
and then that happened.
Did that drop your own ego to yourself or your own, I guess, inner resistance to what if you hadn't given up or surrendered prior to your wife making that mention of people pleasing?
I'd stick at 70%. I'd get, next thing I would do, next thing I would chase, next thing that was attractive, next business, next job, next whatever. I'd guaranteed I keep on doing it.
I mean, I got to tap into, you guys met in high school.
Yes.
And you're together now how many years?
Man, 25, we're coming up.
That's insane, man. It's, who would have thought that at 15, 16 years old that you meet the person that's going to actually change your lens on life to get past the 70%, right?
No, she's been so patient with me.
You're blessed, man.
Oh man, are you kidding me? Yeah, I love her. I love her to pieces. She's an amazing woman. I'm telling you. The fact that she's had so much patience with me, it just brings me to tears. It's just I wouldn't have that much. I mean, I gave up on me. I surrendered. Right? Yeah. She didn't. So that goes to show you.
That's big time. I mean, again, just that was my thought coming into today. Actually, was like, man, you guys been together for a long time.
Yeah, you imagine the ups and downs.
Yeah, I can only. I've been through one failed marriage and I'm in a really great marriage. Nice. I say my forever wife.
Hey, I like that.
But I have a lot of similar moments where, either I'm not on the right track or I'm getting off track. And she's the first one to correct me in one way or another, whether it's vocally or through ignoring me. Because sometimes get in your own head and figure it out, right?
Saying that thing is a thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell me, I want to dive in a little bit more to the beast mindset and, your acknowledgement that 70, you seem to be hitting a glass ceiling. And then you mentioned draw these things into you rather than chase them.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that the beast mindset or is that part of the beast mindset? Like, give me a summary of what the beast mindset is.
All right. So after realizing that I was just people pleasing, that I just wanted to get the satisfaction of significance from somebody else, from saying good job or the diploma, the prize, the hug, the foam finger trophy, whatever. That these are steps. These are steps that take that these baby steps that I was taking. Again, I still had that open mind that I don't know what's going to happen next. And to admit it, I didn't go off and scream and tell anybody. I was just telling myself. I was like, okay, I still was being responsible, doing the things that I had to do, whatever. But as far as like being ambitious to going for that next thing, I was like, I don't know what to do. I was done. I had no drive. Right, exactly. Yeah. And after that was brought up, it didn't take more. After this, I'm not going to tell you that it was like months or weeks. It was like days, sometimes hours. That thing was just boom, boom, starting to move. So I was excited because it was like, whoa, that was crazy that she just said that. And it emotional and just like, whoa, this, chills all the time. And then after that, it was sitting there and I think I was cutting my hair and it was, that's when the self-victimizing came in. Because I think I was watching, I don't know which one came first, the forgiveness and it was the forgiveness one. I was listening to something that triggered forgiveness. It was like, well, I'm not the type of person that holds grudges at all. I mean, I've been done dirty. I think anybody on this planet has been done dirty at one point or another. Yeah. And I've gotten the one where folks have done dirty to my kids. So that stings twice as hard, 10 times, 100 times as hard. And I still don't hold grudges, at all. So, but it seemed like a cool thing to listen to while I was cutting my hair. So while I was cutting my hair, this guy was talking about, forgiveness. And then it triggered like, I gotta forgive myself, And I had done that already, do different programs. I'll forgive yourself, and I sit there like, I forgive myself. I don't know for what, but I'm forgiving myself. But I was forgiving myself. I realized that I have forgiven myself for people pleasing, for doing myself dirty, That and then that is what, like, why did I do myself dirty? How did I do myself dirty? Well, by people pleasing. It's like, okay, well then if I was people pleasing, then why is it that I keep on hitting 70%? And then that's when I just kind of put all those things together. These are pieces, ingredients all started coming together. And then that's when I realized, like, as I was trying to put these pieces together, my self-talk was, well, yeah, I did that because I didn't have this, or I did that because I was forced to do this, or I was doing that because they wanted me to do this. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm being a victim here. And everything that every excuse or reason I had for trying to for justifying my people pleasing was because I was self-victimizing. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to people please. Why? Oh, because all this did this to me. Yeah. So then I was like, oh man, that's the second smack. Yeah. The second smack in the face was like, oh shoot, okay, well now I'm balanced because I got one on both sides. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized I'm self-victimizing. And then that was the ticket right there. That was like the base of it. That was the thing that was holding me down, is that, and I don't, holding me down in what? And I'll get to that in a little bit, but it was just the mindset. And that's where the beast mindset came about. It was like, self-victimizing is so crushing. It holds you back. Everybody does it. Everybody that I see, and I don't want everybody like, okay, you know everybody. No, I don't know everybody, but I see it often.
Yeah, it's very common.
And where do you see it? In myself. Because even now, I still, first thing you want to do is self-victimize. Like I'm entitled for you not to cut me off. What are you doing cutting me off? I'm entitled. and why I'm being a victim, right? Because I am a victim to this person cutting me off. So if you could get rid of that victim mindset, you're more at ease, you're more pleasant, you're calm, you're loving, you're caring, you're compassionate, you're patient. That's abundance. All that is what came up with the beast mindset. Now, the whole part of the beast thing was when my son played as a little kid. He played a lot of ball. He's very athletic. He's really good. And we'd always say between me and him, because we practiced a lot on our own, anytime he'd do something like really good, we'd call it, oh, that was a beast play.
Gotcha.
And I see this little guy, little 7-year-old guy. He's stuck in my head. He's stuck at 7. Right. I don't know if you do that with your kids.
I do. Yeah.
He's like 100 now.
I think they're younger than that, but yeah.
No, he's 20. And actually, a month from today, he'll be 21.
Oh, wow.
So good times. And
that's your oldest?
Yeah, he's my youngest.
Youngest.
Yeah,
okay.
My youngest, yeah. Shout out to Cam.
Your daughter is?
She's 27, I think.
Oh, my God. Yeah, wow. Time has gone so fast, man.
Yeah.
I feel like, I guess she was probably 14, 15 when.
Yeah, good times. and her chapters, 14, 15,
cool.
Going from pigtails to a little bit bigger, So, anyways, that was anything that he do something real cool right there. That was the beast play. So then I just kind of grabbed that from that era and brought it to this, because this is a beast mindset, to have an abundance of not self-victimizing. Everything happens for me.
I think, so you satisfied my biggest curiosity was like, where did it come from? So this is homegrown. This is personal. This is your own realization, your own manifestation, your own teachings through your personal experiences. Did I get that right?
The only thing I would add to that, because somebody just dropped a comment not too long ago, and bless her heart, because she helped me realize this. I say she because the picture on her icon was of a woman figure. So no disrespect if it's not the case. She asked that same question, but she said it in a more colorful way. And it was like, was it your experience? Well, I had experience too. It's like, yeah, but I had progress. I healed myself. Because one thing is tripping and falling and staying on the ground.
Yeah.
One thing is tripping and falling, getting up.
That's right.
Fixing your wounds, healing them up, put a little bit of dirt on them or whatever, and then watching them heal and say, look, I healed them. Oh, shoot, you fell too? Watch how we could do this. Get up, dust yourself off, put a little bit of water, clean it up. Yeah. This is how I did it. You could choose to do it. If I sound like I know what I'm talking about, you could relate to me. We speak the same language. I communicate. I seem like, you want to mess with me. I'll show you how I did it. Yeah. You choose whether you want to do it or not. But I'll tell you, and here's my receipts. Here's my scars. This is how I healed up, and I feel great. It's up to you whether you want to do it or not. So the difference between just having the experience is having the experience with a measurable result, progress.
Absolutely. And I think that's, what I've taken away from watching you is I can see an obvious physical transformation. Like it's pretty damn clear in not just how you look, but like what you post, the energy level that you have when you're posting. You talk of the frequency, and obviously you stay at a certain
your energy.
You stay at a certain energy level to keep this mindset. So like I'm totally encouraged by it. I want to step into a last thought that maybe is going to tie into this mindset that is, like you said, brought a measurable outcome for you, or maybe it's something else, but. We've got a predominantly male, not to say that that's all we're speaking to, but we've got a very highly predominantly male demographic as far as our viewers, within the 25 to 35-year-old range, which is kind of funny because I'm over that age range.
Yeah.
and I think, the issues that I'm facing are maybe a little bit different than when I was in my 20s to 30s, probably above 40, kind of the same sort of things, thinking about health, thinking about family, thinking about legacy, thinking about just my impact on earth. And I'll admit, it's the self-pleasing, it resonates with me strongly as well. I think I got some digesting to do from what you just taught me. But, what is the heaviest, most valuable piece of advice, guidance that you could give to, think of our demographic and beyond, but
Sure.
that you could give to individuals that are watching us now, or that when we put out the actual cut version of this, that they can take home, they can apply to their life and improve either themselves, the way they impact their families, their communities, whatever it might be. But what's your number one heavy piece of advice?
Number one, man, you got to live on purpose. What's the purpose? What's your purpose? I think everybody has the same purpose. I think that question was thrown around too much, too wild, too freely, too open. I think everybody should be programmed with this purpose. Your purpose in life is to become the version of you that you would admire, so you could help others do the same.
Yeah.
That vision that you have of yourself in your head that you would look at and say, damn, that dude's dope. We're talking about men in their 20s. That thing that you imagine, not the thing that you say you're cool with. No, I'm cool like this. No, you're not.
Yeah.
It's that one you imagine.
Yep.
No, my pockets are cool like this. No, they're not. You know what you think about. You know what you imagine. No, I'm cool with this car. I'm cool with this clothes. Or I'm cool with this physique. Or my blood works cool like this. No, you're not. You know what's dope. If you sat there and be honest with yourself and listen to your conscience, listen to your imagination, listen to what you think about, what you envision yourself to be like, man, I admire that guy. And it's a picture of you. This is an image of you. Is he jacked? Does he have a six pack? Is he always lined up? Is he always cut looking good? It always smells good, looks good. His spouse looks at him and just like, wow, his kids look at him. His kids don't have any other higher superhero than him. And nieces and nephews, so you don't have kids. Nieces and nephews, neighbor, everybody in your town looks up at like that. That's the guy who lives right there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the version of you that you need to become. You didn't think about that on your own. We're not that. You're not that amazing. We're pre-programmed with that information. You like that because you were pre-programmed to like that.
Yeah.
That image of you that you see, you were pre-programmed by a higher power to be that. Why? Because you can be that. Because it's your duty and obligation to be that. It's not just for fun. You're supposed to be that. That's why you imagine it. You don't imagine it just for fun. The version of you that you would admire is the version of you that it is your obligation, is your duty. You must become that, and you can. It's not like, well, let's see if you can do it. No, the higher power programmed it to you because you're supposed to do it. You have the capabilities to do it. And all it is habits. And good habits come through what? Discipline. And if you build your discipline, you're gifted confidence. Confidence will get you. I bet you the guy that you admire has confidence. No one's ever said, "Oh man, I admire a dude that has no confidence. He's scared of everything. He's a weak sauce. He doesn't stand up for anything."
Weak sauce, man. You just took me back to '90s for sure.
He doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't protect his family. He doesn't give him security. He doesn't. It's like, nah. No, everybody has like, oh, I'd be hella confident. He'd look like this. He'd smell like that. He'd have this much here. He'd go here. That's it. Live on purpose.
Wes Watson?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just kind of aligns similarly to some of his Reformation mentality, right?
That's it.
That while he was serving a pretty lengthy sentence in prison, that all he was doing was making a movie, creating that individual that, like you said, that
you'd admire.
His kids, that his spouse, that society would admire.
That's
that
it.
They would look at and go like, hey, I want to be
exactly
this
like
person, right?
Exactly
So really, really solid advice, Albert. And
that's it.
It's been way too long, brother. Give my love to the family.
I promise I will. I promise I will. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
This episode has been brought to you by Dialysis Education Services.